Welcome back to more Euro Fantasy content. This will be the team selection for Matchday 5, the quarter-final stage. And if you still have both chips remaining, my recommendation will be to use the Limitless now in Matchday 5 and the Wildcard in Matchday 6. Remember, for the Euro final in Matchday 7, you only need a starting 11 because you can't make substitutions or change the captaincy, and you have 5 free transfers for Matchday 7, 4 for the semi-finals in Matchday 6, and you get free transfers right now. So I think it's much better to use the chips earlier and not save them for the very end, where everyone's going to have a very similar team and the template is going to be extremely strong, and everyone will also be able to build a full starting 11 quite easily. So that is what I'd recommend to all of you. But with the way that the knockout stages have gone, you've got some heavyweight clashes, especially on Friday between Portugal versus France and Spain versus Germany. I think that's what could lead to the wildcard being more useful in Matchday 6, because a lot of us can get to 14 or 15 players right now with free transfers, and then wildcard in Matchday 6, even if a lot of your players are eliminated. You might have gone all in on France, for example, and they end up being knocked out. So I think that's why the wildcard could be best used for Matchday 6. I've still got it in my back pocket, and I'll be discussing whether I'll be saving it or using it right now, and I'll be showing you an updated wildcard draft with a bit more balance compared to the original video and podcast which I have already got on the channel. But let's get straight into this, starting with my Matchday 4 performance and then delving into my transfer plans and the updated wildcard draft. Smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. RMS to get this to the 200 likes on YouTube and to keep on pushing towards 25,000 subscribers. Check all the other links in the description below. Without further ado, let's jump straight into it. After Slovakia scored against England, things weren't looking too good for my goalkeepers, but Verbruggen kept that clean sheet against Romania in a 3-0 victory. A very comprehensive win for the Netherlands as they go into the quarterfinal stage as heavy favourites, and some algorithms actually have the Netherlands as the favourite to win the Euros right now because of their projected route to the final, but I still don't think that's entirely accurate. The Netherlands can be quite suspect, as we saw back in Matchday 3 against Austria, but if they can find that balance like they did against Romania and play that way for the rest of the tournament, they've got a good chance of going very far in this competition, and they're definitely in the more favourable side of the bracket compared to Portugal, France, Germany and Spain, who are probably the 4 best teams in the competition. But Verbruggen got 6 points. I'm very happy with that performance. He's been one of the best goalkeepers in Euro Fantasy, despite only costing 4.5 million. My defensive line continues to deliver. I was very confident of a Portugal clean sheet against Slovenia. It was Diego Costa won player of the match, but João Cancelo still delivered 6 points despite the booking, so I'm still quite happy with him. But at 6 million, he's not offering the same value as Nuno Mendes, Diego Costa, or a certain 5 million defender called Pepe, who delivered 10 points against Slovenia by making 13 ball recoveries. He is an absolute machine, going strong at 41 years of age, and he looked completely jaded and fatigued at the end of extra time. He had to be subbed off, and that was the right call by Roberto Martinez. But in the 90 minutes, Pepe was a monster. Sesko couldn't get past him, and it's going to be very difficult to beat Pepe in these duels and to get some goals past Portugal with this guy at the heart of the defence. The same can be said for Mark Guehi, who is now suspended for Matchday 5 after accumulating another yellow card, so he will miss the quarter-final stage, but he still delivered 7 points by making 11 ball recoveries and providing the assist for Jude Bellingham. So Mark Guehi is a great Euro Fantasy asset at just 4.5 million. As soon as we saw Harry Maguire missing this tournament and Mark Guehi being the likely replacement, I just had a feeling he's going to be a really good Euro Fantasy option, but not to this degree. He has been simply exceptional. He got his first goal contribution in an England shirt in that round of 16 fixture against Slovakia, and the ball recoveries is the main appeal for Mark Guehi, who can also get the clean sheets as well because England have very good defensive numbers. The final defender though was Marc Cucurella, and it was quite disappointing because I doubled up on the Spanish defence with Carvajal and Cucurella, and the former got 3 points whilst Cucurella got even more ball recoveries with 6 to ultimately produce 4 points in the end. He has arguably been the best left back in this tournament. I'm happy to have him. He cost 4.5 million, but the next game is against the host Germany, and that's such a tough game to call. I'd slightly favoured the German side to go through, but that is literally a coin toss. Cucurella is still good value though on the wild card, even the Limitless, and with normal transfers, but I have to say, despite how good Spain have been defensively in this tournament, I'm not so sure of a clean sheet in Matchday 5. The only player to blank in my starting 11 was Sabitzer, and I have to say Austria were very disappointing. They topped the group with France and the Netherlands, and yet against Turkey, where they were the favourites, they couldn't deliver, and Turkey end up going through. 4 years ago, or 3 years ago technically, they were dubbed as the dark horses. They completely flopped in that tournament, but now they enter the quarterfinal stage when no one expects absolutely anything. That is the true definition of a dark horse, and Austria were another one of those teams, but they just couldn't get the job done in the round of 16, and the likes of Baumgartner and Sabitzer, two great Euro fantasy options in this campaign, are now eliminated, which is a shame, but you have to say Turkey deserved it on the day. My second midfielder was Jude Bellingham. He cost 9.5 million, more than any other player left in this competition, and after 94 minutes I was thinking I made a big mistake here because of the name, the player, and also the price tag. I went for this guy, and England are absolutely awful, but he scored that overhead kick, that equaliser in the dying embers of that game to save England, Gareth Southgate his job, and they still have a chance of going into the Euros final and potentially winning it, and it could all come down to this moment where Bellingham scored that clutch goal. He also popped up with the goal against Serbia, but I have to say his overall performances have been quite poor in my opinion, but he's scoring these clutch goals like he does for Real Madrid, and that could be crucial going into the quarterfinals and beyond. My third midfielder though was a certain Musiala, who delivered 9 points to score that second goal against Denmark to kill off the game, and he was also my captain on the first day, and I'll discuss very soon if I held with him or if I actually changed the captaincy. But Musiala with 9 points, a very impressive return, and he's having a great tournament. For me, he's been the best attacking player in this tournament alongside Cody Gakpo, and I'd personally say Musiala has been the best player overall so far. Let's see if he can deliver against Spain. That's going to be a very tough test for both countries. The fourth and final midfielder in the starting 11 was Fabian Ruiz, who got 10 points against Georgia with a goal, an assist and a ball recovery point. Fabian Ruiz has been terrific in this competition. He's been getting a few goal contributions, and he's been one of the best midfielders in this tournament, particularly in the central midfield areas, and I have to say I'm very happy to have gone for him. My only regret is that I didn't double up on the Spanish midfield with Nico Williams to replace Sabitzer. Even my forwards delivered, but I have to say Harry Kane still hasn't justified that price tag despite the winner against Slovakia in extra time. That's 2 6-pointers and 2 blanks so far. I think the quarterfinal stage is where we could finally see him getting 2 goal contributions in a single match and a massive return to justify the captaincy or his hefty price tag, but so far it hasn't been the case. But a certain forward has been the best in terms of points and also the best in terms of value, and that's going to be a Dutchman who is in terrific form in Cody Gakpo. I bought him in for Matchday 4 finally, and I don't regret that decision whatsoever. He got his biggest return yet in this tournament with a goal and an assist, both of amazing quality as well, I have to say. And Cody Gakpo has been the shining light for the Netherlands in this tournament. Depay is typically the one who performs for them in World Cups and sometimes the Euros. He has a great record for the Netherlands in terms of his goal record, but Cody Gakpo is the main man up front now for them. Despite playing on the left wing, that's his best position. He can cut inside, score from outside the box, and he got the Player of the Match award against Romania. There was no doubt in my mind that he would get it after scoring the goal, and after the assist it was all but secure there too. So that starting 11 was very impressive. Sabitzer was the only one to blank. Cucurella a little bit underwhelming, conceding against Georgia through that Lenormand own goal, but the rest delivered very well, and I'm particularly impressed with Musiala, Bellingham, Gakpo, Fabian Ruiz and Pepe at the back. In the end, I scored 90 points and went up in rank to 15,693. It would be great if I could replicate my UCL fantasy numbers and finish around the top 1k, but it's going to be very difficult. I think the quarterfinal stage is probably the last chance of getting a massive score, and after that, we're going to see a lot of tight games, and Euro fantasy will be very difficult in terms of making those rank rises and gaining a lot of points like I did in the round of 16. But I captained Musiala on the first day of Matchday 4. He delivered. There was a temptation to change the captaincy, but I stuck with Musiala in the end, and I'm happy with the result. The only regrets I have is not going for a Rudiger or perhaps maybe a Saliba/Koundé at the back, and also not going for Nico Williams instead of Bruno Fernandes or Sabitzer in the midfield. I'm very happy with the rest of my selections. I do have a Bruggen and Pickford who play on the same day in Matchday 5. That was always going to be an issue, and now I'm going to show you my transfer plans for Matchday 5, and afterwards I'll be showing you an updated wildcard draft. Let me know down in the comment section below if you think I should play the wildcard or just use free transfers. But let's get straight into that, starting with the goalkeeper. In terms of pure numbers, it makes sense for me to go for a goalkeeper transfer because if I keep Verbruggen and Pickford, they both play on Saturday the 6th of July and I have to pick one of them to start and I'm down to 14 players. It's not a big deal. Ultimately, the goalkeeper position is the lowest scoring of any position in the game, but I still think going for Maignan is potentially worth it as France have only considered once in this tournament and that was a penalty converted by Robert Lewandowski back in Matchday 3. In every other game week, Maignan has produced 7 points and France have looked very strong defensively despite them not really clicking offensively and their attacking numbers aren't particularly great. I still think their defence is looking extremely solid and Maignan is a very good way of covering that French defence. The biggest downside of using free transfers is that I have two defensive double-ups, starting with Portugal against France, and João Cancelo isn't offering the greatest value at 6 million, and downgrading him could be a nice way of getting more funds to spend on the midfield and potentially other areas of the pitch, but João Cancelo is still a decent option for Matchday 5. I think France versus Portugal will be low scoring, but you just never know in international football. And sometimes when you least expect it, you get a goal fest. And I'm kind of hoping that isn't the case here, despite the fact that I've got a few Portuguese and French attackers. My second Portuguese defender is Pepe. I'm quite happy to have him. Only 5 million. He gets a lot of ball recoveries and he's not really a big issue in this team. But having two Portuguese defenders is, in my opinion, and the same goes for a double up in Spain defensively with Carvajal, who can get ball recoveries but not to the same extent as a certain Marc Cucurella. I think Spain versus Germany could be a goal fest here, and that's where you'd want to avoid a lot of these German and Spanish defenders. Maybe one from each team. Rudiger and Cucurella would be the standouts, but having two from Spain doesn't sit right with me. I personally think it could even be 2 or 3 goals for each team. It really could go that way, but it should be a great game to watch and I'm very intrigued to see what ends up happening. But this defensive line doesn't look great in terms of clean sheet potential. Another Portuguese asset who isn't offering great value is Bruno Fernandes. He delivered a big return back in Matchday 2, but he has been underwhelming in the other match days, to be quite honest with you. But in this game against France, I think Bruno Fernandes is the most likely to get a goal or assist for the Portuguese national team. He's second in command for penalties and free kicks, but so long as Cristiano Ronaldo is on the pitch, I don't expect that to be the case. You've also got Bernardo Silva, who can take free kicks. So really with Bruno Fernandes, it's from open play. They're kind of hoping he gets the bulk of his points from, and maybe from corners from time to time. So Bruno Fernandes is still a good Euro fantasy option, but many of you will gravitate towards cheaper options like Declan Rice, maybe Kante, a Vitinha or Paulinho, those that can get ball recoveries and offer you a guaranteed score of 4 points and above, which Bruno Fernandes did in Matchday 4, but you still want much more from him considering his high ceiling and the goal and assist potential. The second midfielder I have in the starting 11 is Musiala, and he's my favourite Germany asset, period, especially with Mittelstadt now benched for David Raum, and that could be a reoccurring theme going forwards. But Musiala is definitely the best way to cover the German attack. You still have Ilkay Gundogan and Kai Havertz who offer decent value, but Musiala is a step above. He might be more expensive, but he offers that sheer consistency. He's scoring goals now for Germany and his record for the national team isn't particularly great overall, but he's stepping up in this Euros tournament and he's got a great stake for that MVP award at the very end of the Euros. My third midfielder could be one of my transfers in N'Golo Kante to cover France and get 3 French players overall. The ball recoveries and the player of the match award potential is certainly there, but the goals and assists certainly won't be. He can make some incisive passes forwards and he can dribble out of tight spaces. He's so agile, but with Kante you're going to get ball recoveries and maybe a clean sheet point. That's pretty much it. He wasn't even in the World Cup back in Qatar, but he's back in the national team now and he's doing very well. He has really made that CDM position his own and he's so important defensively to the French team. And it's no coincidence that with the likes of Kante and Saliba getting into that French team, they're looking very solid defensively, but going forwards, something isn't quite there. It's not clicking, and if France can find that balance, they will become the outright favourites to win the Euros tournament. My fourth and final midfielder in this 11 is Fabian Ruiz. Despite the tough fixture, I'm still very happy with him. The goals and assist potential is obviously there. He can get the odd ball recovery point, although not to the same level as an N'Golo Kante or Declan Rice. But Fabian Ruiz has arguably been the best midfielder in Euro Fantasy. Remember, he's only second behind Musiala in terms of points scored, and he missed matchday 3 when Spain heavily rotated against Albania. The only player I have who plays on Saturday the 6th of July in my starting 11 is Harry Kane against Switzerland, who'll be fancying their chances against an underperforming England side. But Harry Kane has a great record for England, especially in international tournaments like the Euros and the World Cup, and he can be a bit of a slow burner, so he starts off quite slowly in the group stages and then gradually grows into it, scoring multiple goals in the round of 16, quarterfinals and potentially semi-finals if England can get past Switzerland, which is going to be a very tough test indeed. I think it's evenly poised and well balanced. It could go all the distance in terms of extra time and penalties. You could say the same about every single fixture for this Euros quarterfinals. My second forward though is another underperformer in Kylian Mbappe, who costs 11 million, and he's another one who plays on Friday the 5th of July. He's probably the standout captaincy option on Friday alongside Musiala. It's a coin toss between those two for me, but defenders have offered great value in Euro Fantasy, and if you were to captain any player on Friday in the defensive line, I'd probably go for a Jules Koundé or any French asset like Upamecano, Saliba, Theo Hernandez, or maybe Magnan in goal. The bench is equal as important in Euro Fantasy, and I've got 2 Dutch and 2 English in Verbruggen, Stones, Bellingham and Cody Gakpo. The Netherlands might not be the most consistent of teams, but they've got the best fixture on paper, and Verbruggen and Gakpo have been consistent in terms of their Euro Fantasy output. And in terms of the captaincy, my current plan is to go for Kylian Mbappe on the Friday, and Gakpo would be my Saturday captain if necessary. My backups would include Musiala on Friday and probably Harry Kane on the Saturday, but even a Jude Bellingham could enter my thinking, and for the Friday, as I mentioned before, it could be someone else entirely. Maybe I go for a defender instead, especially if I go for a Jules Koundé or Saliba as one of my final 3 transfers. But what I'm going to show you right now is some alternative transfers I could make instead of buying Magnan and going for 15 players in my squad overall. I could just keep Pickford and Verbruggen and instead focus all of my transfers on outfield players, and after that it will be the updated wildcard draft, which has a few key improvements compared to the best wildcard team video and podcast I showed you earlier. No matter what my final decision is, whether I wildcard or use free transfers, the 2 players I'm definitely going to sell are Mark Gay, who's suspended, and Sabitzer, who is eliminated from the competition. So what essentially comes down to is buying Stones, Koundé and Xavi Simons for those 2 players and Joao Cancelo, or instead I keep Joao Cancelo but sell Pickford or Verbruggen or Magnan. That is the plan. Let me know down in the comment section below which final transfer you prefer, but I do like getting a Xavi Simons against Turkey for the attacking potential. I just think the likes of Kante and these ball recoverers like Declan Rice offer a higher baseline score of 4 points or above, and with Xavi Simons he can get ball recoveries, but with him it's mainly the higher ceiling and you want the goal contributions to really be added there to his Euro Fantasy score. So I do like the look of this. I have to say this could end up being my final 3 transfers in the end, and I still like Akanji, don't get me wrong, he's still entering my thinking, and Antonio Rudiger, but based on how I think the games are going to go, I think a Jules Koundé or Magnan to cover that French defence is the best transfer to make there, and then it's between Stones or Akanji for that final defender slot should I choose to go this route and sell Joao Cancelo as well. Meanwhile, this is my updated wildcard draft, and if I end up using the chip in Matchday 5, this is very similar to what my final squad will look like, with Magnan and Verbruggen in goal, a backline of Akanji, Pepe, Stones, Rudiger and Koundé, a midfield 5 of Fabian Ruiz, Nico Williams, Bellingham, Musiala and Xavi Simons, and the front 3 will definitely remain untouched with Mbappe, Gakpo and Harry Kane. In both my Limitless and Wildcard team videos, I did discuss alternatives in each position, and another one that I haven't mentioned is Freuler in the heart of the midfield for Switzerland. He's having a great tournament. He's another one to really consider, but I really like the look of this squad. You've got a balance and you're covering all bases here. You're hedging your bets a little bit, but I have to say my current plan is to use the wildcard in Matchday 6. I could easily get to 14 or 15 players in Matchday 5 using free transfers, but with all the clashes we're seeing, particularly on the Friday with some of the heavyweight nations of the Euros, I think it's best for my own personal situation to save the wildcard in matchday 6. There is still a chance that I will use the chip, but I don't see a massive upside with this wildcard team compared to the normal transfers I showed you, both the alternative ones and also the main ones I discuss throughout most of this video and podcast. I've covered everything you need to know for matchday 5, and my current plan is to use free transfers and to save the wildcard for matchday 6. There is still a chance that I use it right now for the quarterfinal stage, and you can see my final squad during the deadline stream tomorrow on Friday the 5th of July from 3 PM UK time until kickoff between Spain versus Germany. Be sure not to miss it by smashing the like button and subscribing if you're new. Let's try to get this video to 300 likes, and let's keep on pushing towards 25,000 subscribers. We're getting very close towards that milestone. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the other links in the description below for my Patreon, the championships for early access to my videos, amongst many other perks, the Discord server, and also the Euro Fantasy League, Draft Town, and Spotify. Leave a 5-star review on my podcast. It goes a long way to supporting the channel. I wish you all the best of luck for matchday 5 and the rest of the tournament, and I'll see you next time.